Welcome to the God Pill. Today we will be discussing the origin of viruses. Proponents of evolution have long lauded viruses as one of the best cases for evolution, due to the rate of adaptation being within a time frame observable well within a human's lifespan. This is because of their relative genetic simplicity and high reproductive rate, leading to frequent mutation. The comparative speed at which they are able to adapt has resulted in them being branded the purest Darwinian machines. Yet the origin of viruses appears to be much more fascinating than some protein sequences forming a primordial organism. A few decades ago, a most extraordinary virus was uncovered. Branded megavirus, it was the first of several strains of megaviruses that have been discovered to date. These megaviruses are so large they can be mistaken for bacteria, and their genomes carry as many as a little over 1,000 protein-encoding genes, making them slightly more complex than the simplest bacteria. For comparison's sake, the simplest viruses have only 4 protein-encoding genes, though very specific in their functions. These megaviruses even have genes associated with cellular functions like amino acid protein synthesis. It's unsurprising, then, that megavirus has been promoted occasionally as the first step in the evolutionary ladder, a predecessor of archaea, prokaryotic, and eukaryotic cells, virtually all cellular and multicellular life. But this doesn't hold up. In the absence of competition with sufficiently adequate rival viruses, megavirus genome under test conditions will rapidly simplify in favor of a high reproduction rate. Successive generations of copies shedding as much as 17% of their ancestors' genome. Viruses adapt. They adapt faster than anything, but that adaptation has a strong R-selected bias against complexity. More importantly, megavirus remains just that, a virus. Its inability to replicate without a host species tells us that it could not have existed without a higher life form predating it. Given the defining inability of viruses to replicate without a host organism, it's a bit implausible, the notion that life's initial emergence on this planet was through the evolutionary mechanics. If viruses, more complex than the simplest bacteria, share some of the internal processes of living organisms, but still can't replicate on their own without a host, then the barrier of evolutionary entry into the game of life would have to be a simple bacteria, with minimally around 1,000 protein-encoding genes, hundreds if it was bare bones in its functionality. This is a much higher bar for inanimate matter to reach spontaneously over time. Both of the most plausible hypotheses on viral origins suggest a move in the reverse direction. The genome of placental mammals contains the instructions to manufacture viruses in the circumstances of a pregnancy. Viruses are created that serve the purpose of suppressing the mother's immune system, enough for the duration of the pregnancy that it won't kill the child. In fact, there is a layer of cells in the placenta that's DNA resembles retroviruses like HIV more than they do your typical cell. In fact, microchimerism, the condition where a woman absorbs the DNA of all the men that have slept with her, altering her own genome, and concentrating in her eggs and brains, suggests sperm itself operates in a retroviral-like fashion, further supporting the notion that viruses are rogue mammalian cellular machinery. This could very well be the origin of viruses, with the immunosuppressing agents in some mammals long ago mutating from an excessive replication rate or an environmental factor enough it deviated from its function, making an independently operating lineage of ever-diversifying parasitic machines. Alternately, rogue viruses could have emerged from a bacterial genome deteriorating into a semi-unliving parasitic state, becoming a megavirus, like megavirus. If the latter, that would explain bacteriophages' ability to utilize bacteria as hosts, as its predecessors would have had enabled lateral gene transfer between bacteria, as bacteria have the ability to trade parts of their genome with each other that they find advantageous for their environment. This would explain the rare occurrences of lateral gene transfer between megaviruses and subviral units that can't replicate without another virus's help, like the Sputnik virus, which often accompanies megavirus and closed species. Viruses are not alive. Most biologists will deny they are living organisms due to their lack of metabolism and reproductive capacity, without other organisms to hijack. A virus, a term coming from Latin for poison, is essentially to cellular molecular machinery what cancer is to a multicellular organism, a rogue unit that's deviated from its intended function and parasitizes on its environment for its own replication. That's my 2 cents on the origins of viruses, gentlemen. Take them for what they're worth. If you found this content worthwhile, don't hesitate to like, share, subscribe, donate, and comment. Until next time, guys, keep all parasites at bay.